Hi, beautiful people. I'm going to be reading Pride and Prejudice, Volume 2, Chapter 12. Let's start now. Elizabeth awake the next morning to the same thoughts and meditation at which had at length closed her eyes. She could not yet recover from the surprise of what had happened. It was impossible to think of anything else, and totally indisposed for employment. She resolved soon after breakfast to indulge herself in air and exercise. She was proceeding directly to her favourite walk, when the recollection of Mr. Darcy's sometimes coming there stopped her, and instead of entering the park, she turned up the lane which led her further from the turnpike. Turnpike. Let me see if it's right. I'm looking up the word. Turnpike Road. The the park paling was still the boundary on one side, and she soon passed one of the gates into the ground. After walking 2 and 3 times along the path of the lane, she was tempted by the pleasantness of the morning to stop at the gate and look into the park. The 5 weeks which she had now passed in Kent had made a great difference in the country, and every day was adding to the verdure. Wait, let me look up this word. Verdure of the early trees. She was on the point of continuing her walk when she caught a glimpse of a gentleman within the sort of groves which edged the park. He was moving that way, and fearful of its being Mr. Darcy. She was directly retreating, and the person who advanced was now near enough to see her, and stepping towards with eagerness, pronounced her name. She had turned away, and on hearing herself called, though in a voice which proved it to be Mr. Darcy, she moved again towards the gate. He had he had by that time reached it also, and holding out a letter which she instantly took, said with a look of let me look up this word. Hardy composure. I have been walking in the groove sometime in the hopes of meeting you. Would you do me the honor of reading that letter? And then with a slight bow, turn again into the plantation, and was soon out of sight. With no expectation of pleasure, but with the strongest curiosity, Elizabeth opened the letter, and to her still increasing wonder, perceived an envelope containing 2 sheets of letter paper, written quite through, in a very close mind. The envelope itself was likewise full. Pursuing her way along the lane, she then began it was dated from Rosen at 8 o'clock in the morning, and was as follows: Be not alarmed, madam, on receiving this letter, by the apprehension of its containing my repetition of those or renewal of those offers which were last night so disgusting to you. I write without my intention of paining you or humbling myself by endowing on wishes which for the happiness of both cannot be too soon forgotten, and the efforts which the formation and pursual of this letter must be occasion should have been spared, and had not my character required to be written and read. You must therefore pardon the freedom with which I demand your attention, your feelings. I know would bestow it unwillingly, and I demand it of your justice. Two offences of a different nature, and by no means of equal magnitude, you last night laid to my charge. The first mention was that, regardless of the sentiments of either, I had discharged Mr. Bentley from your sister, and other that I had in defiance vari- of various claims, in defiance of honor and wait, let me look up this word. I feel like I'm not saying it well. Defiance of honor and humanity ruined the immediate prosperity and bastard the prospect of Mr. Wickham, wilfully and wantonly to have thrown off the companion of my youth, the acknowledged favourite of my father, a young man who had scarcely any other dependent than on our patronage, and who had been brought up to expect its accession, who would be a depravity to which the separation of two young persons whose affection could be the growth of only a few weeks, and could bear no comparison but from the severity of that blame which was last night so liberally bestowed, respecting each circumstance. I shall hope to be in future secure when the following account of my actions and their motive has been read, if in the explanation of them, which is due to myself, I am under the necessary of relating feeling which may be offensive to yours. I can only say that I am sorry. The necessity must be obeyed, and further apologize should be assured. I had not been long in Hertfordshire before I saw, in common with others, that Bingley preferred your elder sister to any young woman in the country, but it was not till the evening of the dance at Netherfield that had my apprehension of his feeling a serious attachment. I had often seen him in love before at that ball, while I had the honour of dancing with you. I was first made acquainted by Sir William's Willock's accidental information that Bentley's attention to your sister had given rise to a general expectation of their marriage. He spoke of it as He spoke of it as a certain event of which the time alone could be undecided. From that moment, I observed my friend's behavior attentively, and I could then perceive that his partiality for Miss Bennet was beyond what I had ever witnessed in him. Your sister I also watched. Her look and manners were open, cheerful, and engaging as ever, but without any symptoms of partic- oh, let me look at this word. Peculiar. Okay. Peculiar. 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 Regards that I remained convinced from the evening's scrutiny that though she received his attention with pleasure, she did not invite them by participation of sentiment. If you have not been mistaken here, I must have been in an error. Your superior knowledge of your sister must make the letter palpable. If it be so, if I have been misled by such error to inflict pain on her, your resentment has not been unreasonable, but I shall not scruple to assess, assert, assert, assert that the sincere serenity of your sister's countenance and air was such as might have given the most acute observer a conviction that, however amiable her temper, her heart was not likely to be easily charged, that I was desi- desir- desirous of believing her indifference as is certain, but I would venture to say that my investigations and decisions are not usually influenced by my hopes and spirits. I did not believe her to be indifferent because I believe it on impartial conviction as truly as I wish it in my reason. My objections to the marriage were not merely those which which I last night acknowledged to have required the utmost force of passion to put aside. In my own case, the want of connection could not be so great an evil to my friend as to me, and there were other causes of re- oh my goodness, repugnance, repugnant, causing which though is still existing ex- and existing to an equal degree in both instances. I had myself endeavor to forget because they were not immediately before me. These causes might be stated, though briefly, the situation of your mother's family. Through, though, though objectionable, was nothing in comparison of that total want of prosperity of so frequently, so almost uniformly betrayed by herself, by your three young sisters, and occasionally even by your father. Pardon me, it pains me to offend you, but among your concern for the defects of your nearest relationship, your displeasure at this representation of them. Let me give you some consolation to consider that to have conducted yourself as to avoid any share of the like censure, and to praise no less generally bestowed on you and your elder sister. It is honorable to the sense and disposition of both. I will only say to further that from what passed that evening, my opinions of all the parties were confirmed, and every inducement heightened which could have led before to preserve my friend from what I esteemed a happy unhappy connection. He left Netherfield for London on the day following as you, I'm certain, remember, with the design of soon returning. The part which I acted is now to be explained. His sister's uneasiness has been equally excited with my own. Our coincidence of feeling was soon discovered, and alike sensible that nobody was to be lost in detaching their brother, we shortly resolved on joining him directly in London. We accordingly went, and there I readily engaged in the office of pointing out to my friend the concerned evils of such a choice. I described and enforced them earnestly, and however this remonstrance remonstrance might have been staggered or delayed his determination. I do not suppose that it's oh my god. I do not suppose that it will be utterly have prevented the marriage had it not been seconded by the assurance which I hesitated not in giving of your sister's indifference. He had before believed her to return this affection with sincere, if not with equal regard, but Bentley had a great natural modesty with a strong dependence on my judgment than on his own. To convince him, therefore, that he had been deceived himself was no very difficult point. To persuade him against returning into Hertfordshire when the conviction had been given was scarcely the work of a moment. I cannot blame myself for having done thus much. Oh my goodness, that's a long read. Okay, wait, let's continue. That is but one part of my conduct in the whole affair, of which I do not reflect with satisfaction. It is that I condescended to adopt the measures. Okay, I saw something. Okay, let's continue. I condescended to adopt the measures of acts so far as to conceal from your sister's being in town. I knew it myself, as it was known to Miss Bentley that her brother is even yet ignorant of it, and that they might have met without ill coincidence. It is perhaps probable that his regard did not appear to me enough extinguished for him to see her without some danger. Perhaps this concealment, this disgust was beneath me. It is done, however, was done for the best. On this subject, I have nothing more to say, no other apologies to offer. If I have wounded your sister's feelings, it was unknowingly done, and though the motive which govern me may to you be very naturally appear insignificant, I have not yet learned to condemn them without respect to that other more weighty accusation of having injured Mr. Wickham. I can only ref- refute it by laying before you the whole of his connection with my family. Of what he had particularly accused me, I am ignorant, but of the truth of what I shall relate, I can summon more than one witness of undoubted vera- veracity. Mr. Wickens is the son of a respectable man who had for many years the management of all the Pemberley estates, and whose whose good conduct in the discharge of his tracts naturally inclined my father to be of service to him, and of George Wickham, who was his godson. His kindness was therefore liberally bestowed. My father supported him at school and afterwards at Cambridge, most important assistant. As his own father, I always pour him from the extravagance of his wife would have been enabled to give him a gentleman's education. My father was not only fond of this young man's society, whose manners were always engaging, he had also the highest opinion of him, and hoping the church would be his profession, intended to provide for him in it. As for myself, it is many, many years since I first began to think of him a very different manner. The vicious propensities, that want of principle which he was careful to guide from the knowledge of his best friend, could not escape the observation of a young man of nearly the same age with himself, and who had opportunity of seeing him in unguarded moments which Mr. Darcy could not have. Here again I shall give you Here again I shall give you pain. To what degree you only can tell, but whatever may be the sentiment which Mr. Wickham has created, a suspicion of their nature shall not prevent me from unfolding his real character. It has even another motive. My excellent father died about 5 years ago, and his attachment to Mr. Wickens was the last was to the last so steady was to the last so steady that in his will he particularly recommended it to me to promote his advancement in the best manner that his profession might allow, and if he took orders desired that a valuable family living might be his as soon as it became vacant. There was also a legacy of £1,000. His own father did not long survive mine, and within half a year from this event, Mr. Wickham rose to inform me that, having finally resolved against taking orders, he hoped I should not think it unreasonable for him to expect some more immediate pecuniary advantage in lieu of preferment by which he could not be benefited. He had some intention, he added, of studying the law, and I must be aware that the interest of £1,000 would be a very insignificant support that reign. I rather wish that I would rather wish than believe him to be insincere, but at any rate was perfectly ready to accede A seed. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Where did I reach? Oh, there you go. A seed. Exceed. Accede to his proposal. I knew that Mr. Wickham ought not be a chairman. The business was therefore soon settled. He resigned all claim to our assistance in the church, were it possible that he could ever be in a situation to receive it, and accepted in return £3,000. All connection between us seemed now dissolved. I thought too ill of him to invite him to Pemberley or admit his society in town. In town I believe he chiefly lived, but his studying the law was a mere pretense, and being now free from all restraint, his life was a life of idleness and this dissipation passion. Oh wait, let me see. Dispassion. Dispassion. For about 3 years I heard little of him, but of the disease of the inconvenience of the living which had been designed for him. He applied to me again by letter for presentation. His circumstances, he assured me, and had no difficulties in believing it, were exceedingly bad. He had found the law a most unprofitable study, and was now absolutely resolved on being ordained if I would present him to the living in question, of which he trusted there could be a little doubt, as he was well assured that he had no other person to provide for. Okay, let me breathe. Okay, and I could not have forgotten my let me look up this word. Oh my god, some of this is very long. Revered. My revered father's intention. You will hardly blame me for refusing to comply with this entreaty, or for resisting every repetition of it. His resignment was in proportion to the distress of his circumstances, and he was doubtless as violent in his abuse of me to others as in his reproaches to himself. After this period, every appearance of coincidence was dropped. How he lived, I know not. But last summer he was again most painfully ab- obtruded on my notice. I must now mention a circumstance which I would wish to forget myself, which no obligation less than the present should indulge me to unfold to any human beings. Having said thus much, I feel no doubt of your security. My sister, who is more than 10 years my junior, was left to the guardianship of my mother's nephew, Colonel Fitzwilliam, and myself. About a year ago, she was taken from school and an establishment formed for her in London, and last summer she went with the lady who presided over it to Hamsgate, and Theta also went with Mr. Wickham's, undoubtedly by design, for there proved to have been a prior oh sorry prior oh my goodness My mind is so blank with this. Prior acquaintance between him and Mrs. Young, in whose character we were most unhappily deceived, and by her connivance and aid, he was so far recommended himself to Georgina, whose affectionate heart retained a strong impression of his kindness to her as a child, and she was persuaded to believe herself in love and to concern, con, con, consent to an elopement. She was then but 15, which must be her excuse, but after stating her imprudence, I am happy to add that I owe the knowledge of it to herself. I joined them unexpectedly a day or two before the intended elopement, and that Georgina, unable to support the idea of grieving and offending a brother whom she almost looked up to as a father, acknowledged the whole to me. You may imagine what I felt and how I acted. Regard for my sister's credit and feeling prevented my public exposure, but I wrote to Mr. Wickham, who left the place immediately, and Mrs. Young was, of course, removed from her charge. Mr. Wickham's chief object was unquestionable my sister's fortune, which is £30,000, but I cannot help supposing that the hopes of revenging myself on me was a strong inducement. His revenge would have been complete indeed. This, madam, is faithful narrative of every event in which we must be me in which we have been concerned together, and if you do not absolutely reject it as a force, you will, I hope, acquit me henceforth of cruelty towards Mr. Wickham. I know not in what manner, under what form of falsehood he had imposed on you, but his success is not perhaps to be wondered at. Ignorant as you previously were of everything concerning either, detection could not be in your power, and suspicion certainly not in your inclination. You may prob- pos- pos- possessibly wonder why all this was not told you last night. But I was not then master enough of myself to know what could sought to be revealed. For the truth for the truth of everything here related, I can appeal more particularly to the testimony of Colonel Fitzwilliam, who from our near relationship and constant intimacy, and still more as one of the executors of my father's will, has been unavoidably acquainted with every particular of these transactions. If your abhorrence of me should make my assertions values, you cannot be prevented by the same cause from confiding in my cousin, and there may be the possibility of consoling him. I shall endeavour to find some opportunity of putting this letter in your hands in the course of the following morning. I will only add, God bless you, Fitzwilliam Darcy. Okay. That was a long read, guys, today. Sometimes I get so much energy to read and sometimes I don't have it. But I did well, very, very well. Yeah, this is a long letter. Yeah, such a letter. Yeah, very, very long. Mm, I'm coming. Such a long letter. I'm breathing because I just like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. It was like, it was such a long letter. But anyway, guys, maybe I should wait. Anyway, guys, I it's such a long letter. That's my comment. Yeah, but I'm done, and I'm so proud of myself. Very proud of myself. Today, I didn't have enough energy, but I did it, and I'm so proud of myself. I am. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye bye.